So the next part of the presentation, we're going to look at the pros of auditor rotation. The main reason for mandatory auditor rotation is really the appearance of increased independence to the public. Many people in the public believe that if there is this mandatory auditor rotation, that the perception will be there is increased independence. The next reason is the potential to reduce financial statement fraud. Many believe that with each successive auditor that the potential to find these fraudulent statements is much higher. The next part is the fresh perspective with each successive auditor. Many believe that with a new auditor they take a more in-depth look or they have a different perspective, and they believe that this will actually increase the audit quality. And then the last reason is it eliminates continuous fee streams. Many people now believe that once an individual secures an audit client, this really is just a continuous fee stream for many years. And if there were mandatory auditor rotations, this would eliminate that. Next, we will take a look at the cons of auditor rotation. One of the biggest cons is the reduced audit committee effectiveness. Once mandatory auditor rotation is implemented, the audit committee will have far less ability to really control how the audit process works, who they hire, things of that nature. The next part is the loss of auditor knowledge and specialization. Many believe that if auditor rotation becomes mandatory, that auditors lose the incentive to become specialists in an industry because they will be rotating on and off so frequently that really they won't have the specialized knowledge that an individual will develop having worked on a client for periods of time. There has been academic evidence of lower audit quality in the beginning stages of an audit. In the first few years, the audit quality is shown to be lower as compared to later on in the process. And then a big reason that many people have opposed auditor rotation is the added cost for companies. Many believe that because of the early stage lower audit quality, learning the new companies, learning the processes, it really adds up to more hours the auditor puts in, which ends up being more cost for the companies. So some of the recent U.S. legislation and the results of this legislation, the PCAOB has considered auditor rotation. In release number 2011-6, they brought up consideration for mandatory auditor rotation, and they looked at the potential to pass that. But, however, recently the House passed preventative legislation. It is known as the Audit Integrity and Job Protection Act. This basically shut the door on any possibility of requiring mandatory auditor rotation, so there's no longer any chance of that. Once that legislation was passed, the PCAOB then officially dropped any auditor rotation ideas. So here are some alternative solutions to mandatory auditor rotation. So one of the first things is many believe that if we were to establish some communication standards between the audit committee and the auditors, it would be much easier for the mandatory or for the auditors to go about and present their work to everyone. Another solution is the creation and disclosure of key performance indicators. So many believe that if key audit performance indicators were created, it would help to really show the public what if an audit is of good performance. The next is the increased involvement of the audit committee. Many believe that if the audit committee is more involved in the process, that there will be a higher audit quality, and if the auditor has any problems or anything of that nature and the audit committee has the power to solve these problems, that there will be a much higher audit quality. And then finally, some people believe that if there is an expansion in the auditor financial statement disclosures, that it will increase audit quality, just because if the auditor is given more leeway in determining what they believe is not correct or should not be in the financial statements, they can include that in their disclosure, and that will increase the audit quality. So here we have, next couple slides are the questions that we put together for our discussion.